Grab your popcorn and soda and let's ready to watch our latest movie recap on Popcorn and Soda. Today we are going to summarize one of interesting movie entitled Chef, released on 2014. The story begins with a main character in this film. His name is Carl, a famous chef who works in a big restaurant. He is very loyal to the world of cooking. Even he has spent his whole life in the kitchen. Carl works with his two loyal assistants named Martin and Tony. One afternoon Carl was allowed to go home first because he was going to pick up his son from school. In the car, his son Percy asked him to watch a movie. However, Carl refuses his invitation because he will soon be shopping for some ingredients to welcome a food vlogger who will come to his restaurant tonight. In the evening, Carl gives instructions to his assistants to work optimally because their food will be judged by a food vlogger. Molly told Carl and the others that soon Reba, the restaurant owner, would also come and take a look at their food session. A few moments later, Reba came and asked permission to speak with Carl. Reba reminded Carl not to prepare his new menu because Carl's previous session had failed. Reba again emphasized to prepare the menu as usual without having to change the taste at all. With a heavy heart, Carl instructed all his assistants to serve the food menu as usual. After some time, a food vlogger named Ramsey came and started tasting Carl's homemade food. But it didn't take long for Ramsey to write on his blog that Carl's cooking was not tasty and it was very boring. Carl is very disappointed after reading Ramsey's blog because he feels he has dedicated half of his life as a chef. But unfortunately, the food he makes is not liked by Ramsey. Carl, who didn't want to be stuck for a long time, decided to get up and start cooking his new menu. So he didn't feel like he had spent all night in cooking the mainstay menu. In the morning, Martin and Tony came and tried the taste of Carl's cooking. Martin and Tony were very surprised because for the first time in their life, they tasted such delicious food. While eating the food, the two assistants told Carl that Ramsey's criticism last night became a trending topic on Twitter, but because Carl has not a Twitter account, he doesn't care about it at all. After work, Carl is still curious about what his colleagues said about Ramsey's viral writing. Carl asked his son to create a Twitter account and teach him how to use it. After opening Twitter, they were both immediately shocked to see so many negative comments from citizens. Then Carl replied to Ramsey's writing on Twitter and challenged him to rate his cooking at the restaurant tonight. Well, because his tweet was very hot, netizens became enthusiastic and it became a top trend on Twitter. As a result of that, the restaurant was full of visitors and that night became the most visited night since the first time when the restaurant was built. But on the other hand, Carl, who was ready with his signature dish, was again disappointed by Reba. He instead orders Carl to serve the same food as usual. Angry, Carl tells his boss that this is his match with Ramsey, why he is not allowed to serve his masterpiece. The debate continued between the two of them. At the end, Carl, who was very disappointed and fed up, decided to go and get out of the restaurant. On the other hand, Ramsey had arrived and was surprised because he was served with the same dishes as last night, and unexpectedly he did not see Carl in the kitchen of the restaurant. Seeing this, Ramsey commented on his Twitter again by saying that Carl had lost before the match and the point is, Carl is a loser. Carl, who had just arrived home, immediately saw Ramsey's post, which of course made him very angry. He returned to the restaurant to curse Ramsey. Then the impact of his anger made the video very viral and his reputation as a chef fell apart. Long story short, Carl, who is unemployed, gets an offer to become a chef on a TV show because they think that Carl's angry character is perfect for being a chef on their television program. Carl, who is still traumatized, decides to turn down the offer. On the other hand, his ex-wife Inez also offered to set up a food truck business. But Carl still refused and said he would stop cooking for a while. Inez and Percy will go to Miami for a work visit, and Carl is asked to come there to look after Percy because of course Inez will be very busy with his work. Arriving in Miami, Percy looked very happy because it was the first time he had vacation with his father and mother as a whole, and Percy also saw another side of his father, which turned out to be very silly. Unemployed for some time, Carl began to think about an offer from his wife to open a food truck business. Carl finally agreed and bought a truck that he would use to start his business. Later, the truck that Carl bought looks so old and everything inside is dirty and messy. After that, Carl and Percy started cleaning the truck, and from this it looks like they both have started to get to know each other. However, after the truck was clean, Carl was again confused because he would be in a lot of trouble. if he was only assisted by Percy in cooking later. At the same time, Carl was surprised by the arrival of Martin, who said he wanted to join because he had just left Reva's very boring restaurant. For the first time after being fired, they started cooking and serving their first customers, who were dominated by construction workers working around their city. When Carl taught Percy to bake a bread, Carl says that a chef's whole life is now in this bread and grill. If you are not totality in baking that bread, your whole life will also fall apart. From here we can get a moral message. If doing a job must be focused in totality, so that you can achieve your goals. The first day of their business was closed by sitting relaxed and chatting on the side of the road. Then continues their adventure using a food truck. They have passed all cities and their trucks always stop at every crowded location. Carl also always prepares a new menu in every city they stop by. Until one day Carl began to feel strange, because in every city he visited, the food truck was always crowded and people immediately recognized him. Well, it turns out that Percy is the person behind it all. Percy instantly took a photo and uploaded it to his Twitter to promote the food truck. Percy took advantage of the viral video of his father when he was angry earlier, more and more people to be interested in trying Carl's cooking. Carl looks very proud of Percy, because Percy is very talented in promoting his products. After that, he asked his father to record 1 second of the moment to make a video that he would keep as a memory with his father. After their long journey from Miami City, and now finally they are almost home. Carl tells Percy that the school holidays will soon be over and that means they both will be separated and very busy with their respective lives. Percy is busy with his school activities while Carl will be busy with his new business. Percy looks very sad with his father, that every weekend he helps his father to sell the products. He also said that only this job could unite the two of them. Because he felt that since childhood he had lacked love from his father, and this was the first time he felt the warmth of a father's love. But unfortunately, Carl did not want his son's school time to be disturbed. He did not allow Percy to work with him. With a heavy heart, Percy had to obey his father's decision. A few days apart from Percy made Carl feel lonely. Now Carl feels how important Percy is in his life. Then Carl watched a video of 1 second moments every day, sent by Percy via email message. Carl, who saw the memories getting harder to apart with Percy, until finally he decided to call Percy and allow him to help Carl sell on the weekend. On a weekend night, Inez was also seen helping with their work as cashiers and waitresses. That night Ramsey also visited there by accident and explained that all the misunderstandings that occurred were nothing more than the demands of his job. At that time an online media wanted something that could make the news viral. Ramsey apologizes to Carl for what he has done so far. Ramsey's goal is to come there to give Carl an offer to be the head chef of his new restaurant. Carl finally accepts the offer and started work to the new restaurant. In the new restaurant, Carl is free to cook all the dishes he likes. The film ends with Inez and Carl dancing in the middle of the crowd at the new restaurant. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe our channel and hit the notification button on, that you never miss an update on Popcorn and Soda.